Hi, everyone, and welcome to Insights in Caribbean Intellectual Property, the official podcast of the Caribbean and America's Intellectual Property Organization. I'm your host, Pete Manning, along with Jessica Sims. Today's topic is data colonialism, the fight for Caribbean cultural sovereignty. The Caribbean is experiencing a new form of colonization, but this time it's not about dominance or resources, it's about data. Tech giants are harvesting cultural information worth billions while claiming it belongs to no one.
That's such a striking parallel. How exactly are these companies justifying this massive data extraction?
Well, it all comes down to this fascinating legal concept. Just like European powers used terra nullius, nobody's land, to claim the Caribbean in 1493, Silicon Valley is using what they're calling data nullius, treating Caribbean cultural data as if it's free for the taking.
So they're basically using US fair use doctrine as a loophole to grab whatever they want?
Exactly. And here's what's really mind blowing about it. These AI companies are scraping everything from Caribbean literature to academic research, claiming it's transformative use. But transformation doesn't equal fair compensation. Think about it. When an AI processes a novel by Earl Lovelace, it's not appreciating the artistry, it's just converting culture into code.
Hmm. That reminds me of how colonial powers used to extract raw materials and sell back finished products at a premium.
That's exactly what's happening here. The data leaves the region, gets processed into AI models elsewhere, and then Caribbean nations often have to pay to use tools trained on their own cultural information. It's like history repeating itself in digital form.
Well, that brings up an interesting question. How do you even begin to protect something like communal creativity, like traditional music or carnival celebrations?
That's where it gets really complicated. U.S. copyright law is built around this idea of individual creators, but Caribbean cultural expressions often evolve through generations of collective contribution. An AI can vacuum up thousands of carnival images and generate Caribbean style art without technically violating any single person's copyright.
And I imagine this affects historical accuracy too?
Oh man, don't get me started on the hallucination problem. These AI systems are making huge mistakes about Caribbean history, like mixing up the Haitian Revolution with completely different events. And because these models are such black boxes, there's often no way to correct these errors.
That's particularly troubling when you consider how many people might rely on these AI systems for information.
And here's the real kicker: Caribbean nations are actually prevented from using their own data because of strict local fair dealing laws, while U.S. companies can help themselves from servers in California. It's like being locked out of your own house while watching someone else raid your fridge.
You know what's fascinating, though? I've heard there are some solutions being proposed, something called sovereign data architecture.
Yes, Dr. Abiola Innes has proposed the creation of a sovereign data architecture. This is where it gets interesting. It's a three-part approach. First, legislative reciprocity, basically saying if you want Caribbean data, you need some presence in CARICOM. Second, sovereign data, trust to negotiate bulk licensing deals instead of leaving individual creators to fight tech giants alone. And third, leveraging existing IP laws in clever ways.
That last part sounds intriguing. How would that work?
Well, take Trinidad and Tobago, for example. They already have laws that grant copyright to whoever makes the arrangements necessary for computer generated works. They could position themselves as a jurisdiction of certainty for ethical AI companies who want clear copyright protection.
That's actually quite brilliant, turning what seems like a disadvantage into an opportunity.
Exactly. And here's what makes this whole situation so crucial: it's not just about technology or law, it's about power. It's about whether the Caribbean can maintain its cultural sovereignty in the digital age or become what some are calling a permanent periphery in the cognitive economy.
The stakes really couldn't be higher, could they?
No, and that's why this is such a pivotal moment. Every day, these AI systems train on Caribbean data. Without compensation or consent, it's like watching cultural heritage being slowly drained away. But there's hope. Scholars like Dr. Abiola Innes and leaders are actively working on solutions, not just critiquing the problem.
It really does feel like we're at a crossroads between repeating the mistakes of the past and creating something new and more equitable.
And that's the key question we need to ask ourselves. Will we let history repeat itself? Or will we take this opportunity to create new models of digital cooperation that respect and protect cultural heritage? The technology itself is neutral. It's how we choose to use and regulate it that matters.
That's such a powerful way to frame it. This isn't just about protecting the past, it's about actively shaping the future.
You know what? Maybe that's the most important lesson in all of this. Technological progress doesn't have to mean repeating the power dynamics of the past. There's an opportunity here to do things differently, to ensure that cultural heritage remains in the hands of those who created it. The question is, will we take it? Thanks for joining us on this episode of Insights in Caribbean Intellectual Property. Please follow us wherever you listen to this podcast so that we can let you know when there's a new episode. If you listen to us on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and share. See you next time.